What up, YouTube Live? This is your Suli again, Rama Screen, covering movies, TV, and entertainment. I hope you're not sick and tired of seeing my face again and again. But I want to catch up on some of the series or episodes, especially the new ones that aired this past Friday that I was not able to review that evening because I was out at Dances with Films Festival, interviewing the talents there. So this is a new show on Cinemax called Jett. And as you know, Cinemax has new shows every Friday evenings. This past season, we had Warrior. Oh my God, freaking love Warrior. So now we're going to have to wait a full year until season two arrives. Um, so I figured, like, you know what? Cinemax has kept me company, has kept my Friday nights company. So I'm just going to continue showing them love. And also because I'm a huge fan of Carla Gugino. I think it's Gugino. I apologize if I mispronounced that last name, but I'm her fan. Okay, I followed her career for quite some time, and especially the movie Watchmen. So and now she has this new series. I'm like, I gotta check it out. I gotta do review of Carla's new show. As a fan, and I can't wait to see it. And so I did. All right, so heads up, spoiler alert, this review or this video is mainly for those of you, my fellow Carla Gugino fans, or my fellow Jett fans who have also watched the first episode, the pilot episode of Jett. All right, so just in a nutshell, what's Jett about, Rama? What is Jett? Well, Jett is the name of the character that Carla plays in this series that is created, written, and directed and executive produced by Sebastian Gutierrez. If that name rings a bell, it's because Sebastian Gutierrez is Carla's boyfriend in real life. Um, he is Carla's lover, Carla's romantic partner. I don't know how, how else I could describe it, but they're not married. Okay, so it's kind of like Goldie Hawn and Kurt Russell. Remember them? If I'm not mistaken, they were not married. They were just romantic partners. Been like that for decades. Some people just don't believe in the institution of marriage, and that's fine. I mean, no judgment here. Uh, After all, Hollywood treats marriages like changing trousers anyway, but we're not going to get into that. So maybe some people are like, if Hollywood can't keep a marriage down, why should we get into marriage? For Hollywood folks like Kurt Russell, Goldie Hawn, or Carla, that's probably their thinking. So anyway, Sebastian Gutierrez is Carla's boyfriend, and over the years, Sebastian has put Carla in many of his projects, like Women in Trouble and Electra Lux, um, Elizabeth, what's the name? Elizabeth Harvey, I think that's the thriller name. But anyway, it's like that mutual agreement too, kind of like Frances McDormand, who's married to one of the Cohen brothers. I believe that's Joel Cohen. Well, anyway, they would always put Frances McDormand in their movies. The same with Sebastian. So it's not necessarily like, oh yeah, I'm gonna have sex with you, or if you give me a job as employment. I think it's more than that. They actually care for each other. But the benefit or the advantage is that whenever Sebastian comes up with a project, of course, Carla would be on the top of his list, and that's how it should be. Otherwise, it's not cool. And Carla would be like, "Hey, what's wrong? I thought we had this thing going." Kind of like Tim Burton and who was the previous girlfriend? Helena Bonham Carter. Remember that? Tim Burton would always put Helena in his movies. Not anymore, though, obviously. Uh, so now Sebastian has this new show, and of course, the first person on his list is um, his girlfriend, Carla Gugino. Understandably so. Um, Carla probably would be pissed if Sebastian picked somebody else. But anyway, She is perfect as this role, Jet, by the way. So even if the show was not created by Sebastian Gutierrez, I would still vouch for Carla to play this role because it's a really delicious role for her. And so, what's it about? This character Jet is the nickname of her character's actual name, which is Daisy. So Daisy, aka Jet, she is a professional thief. Excuse me. And she over the years she's worked with a lot of bosses. In particularly the one that is played by Giancarlo Esposito. Giancarlo is famous for his role as Gus, the remember that the El Pollo Loco owner in Breaking Bad that turns out is when you go to the basement they create or they make meth down there. So he's famous for that one. Giancarlo Esposito is back in a villainous role, a gangster role, um, in the show Jet, and so Jet, or AKA Daisy, by this point is fresh out of prison. She just got out of prison and she wants to do good by society. She's just trying to be, trying to take a normal job, and she has quit her thieving, professional thieving life, or she's left that behind her because she now has a partner, a woman. I guess she's a bi or pansexual, and they have a child together that they're raising. So she's like, you know what? I just want to live a normal life. Get a day job that can pay for my bills and for my child's bills. Understandable, right? Until, of course, it's one of those cases when the criminal wants to have, like wants to leave their old life behind and wants to start anew. Just like the quote from Al Pacino in Godfather Part 3. Just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in. So she got pulled back into this life by Giancarlo Esposito's character. The gangster, his name is, oh, I forgot his name. Okay, never mind. It's not listed here. So um, he wants her to go with this guy who can break safes. He's a safe cracker. He wants them to go to Cuba to crack the safe owned by this Russian gangster, Eastern European gangster, not necessarily Russian, but and their job is to swap um, the ring that is inside that safe. So it should be simple, right? Um, and as you can see in this episode, her job is mainly to distract the Russian guy. Of course, using her sex appeal. While her thief partner, let's get his name here, Quinn. There you go, Quinn, played by actor Mustafa Shakir, who played Bushmaster in Luke Cage season 2. Oh my god, I liked season 2. So I'm still bummed out that they canceled Luke Cage. Bushmaster was a pretty cool character. So anyway, Mustafa is a safe cracker in this one. So while Jet, Carl's character, distracts the Russian, using her sex, like seducing him, while she's off doing that, of course, Quinn comes in and cracks the safe. And turns out Quinn discovers a lot more stuff in that case, in addition to just the ring. One of which is the revelation that has to do with um, Giancarlo Esposito's character's son. So it's supposed to be this is supposed to be Jet's final job. That one of those stories like a criminal comes back to pull that one last job that can just to get that money just enough to retire. That kind of scenario. But it ends up being, by the end of this episode, the Russian finds out about their con, and now she's caught in the middle of two very ruthless criminals. That and they both want to exploit her skills for their own ends, for their own benefits. So that's it. That's basically the in the nutshell what happens in this episode. There are going to be 9 episodes this season, not 10, not 13, only 9. And Carla Gugino also serves as an executive producer on the show as well. All right, so a few notes that I have here. First off, the 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 episode starts out or opens with two low level criminals or low level hitmen. You know, um, these are the kind of guys that you order to, kill somebody. So anyway, it opens with them in the car waiting for their mark, and they have this long conversation about, I don't know, sex or somewhat sex, with this one other woman. Like, so they're sharing stories, and I like that. I like that kind of moment. It's obviously not original. It's been done in a lot of gangster movies, including Pulp Fiction. Remember that? What's the conversation between Samuel Jackson and John Travolta? I think it's Royale with cheese. Remember that? Royale with cheese. They have this long conversation about burgers, and of course Guy Ritchie. Guy Ritchie's gangster comedy like Snatch and Lock, Stock, Two Smoking Barrels. It's also filled with those kinds of moments or dialogues where criminals just like having um, uh, a talk about a topic that's just it sounds minuscule, but it's to them it's like the biggest deal. So the scene opens with that, and it's funny. And as you watch this show, you figure out also that Sebastian Gutierrez applies his old filmmaking style. He does. I think he did this on Women in Trouble and Electra Lux, where kind of Steven Soderbergh does this a lot too, especially for his Ocean's 11 movies, where there's split screens, sometimes showing what happens in two separate rooms at the same time. Sometimes it could be like two separate locations happening at the same times, and sometimes it could be like split screen, like in three ways. Kind of there'll be like a big thing happening on the top, and then two little things happening at the bottom. So it's cool. It's cool watching that. That kind of storytelling approach. It's been a while since we saw that approach. So Sebastian Gutierrez, thank you for bringing it back. I think it gives us sort of a vibrancy feel to the show. Like oh my god, when you have split screens like that, you get a sense of wow, a lot of things are happening here. It looks hectic. Looks like it looks urgent too. Like, oh my god, the characters need to do this fast, otherwise that other guy from the other room that we see on that side of the screen will come to them and ruin the whole thing. So I like that. That's pretty cool, right? That's one of the other positives of this show. It halfway through the episode, it turns into a con kind of show. You know, con like Mission Impossible, mass, trying to come up with a plan, um, and trying to fool the Mark's person or Markman, and so there's this scene where the Russian has a conversation with Jett and Quinn, and Jett and Quinn, their con is that they are screenwriter and actor from Hollywood, and then by the end of it or after that, it it turns from con, like Dirty Rotten Scoundrels or Ocean's 11 kind of con. It turns from that to heist. It turns into that to a small heist. Like they're planning, like Jet and Quinn, like looking at the blueprint of the whole place. Like, okay, if you go here, this area or this section is not as well lit as that one, so you'll have, you know, more advantage if you go here. So Quinn's like, okay, that whole thing is like it feels like a heist, like a bank job kind of thing, and so it appeals to those of us fans of such genres. Um, of course, it's in smaller scale because it's only a two-person team. It's not a big crew. So think in a very small scale, but still, it has that same excitement, that you watch from con movies like Ocean's 11, or from heist movies like The Bank Job. So, but in a smaller scale. Um, Lastly, the other thing that Sebastian Gutierrez does for this episode or this show is the non-linear progression. Um, the storylines are not in order; they're out of place. Sometimes you see what happens a day before, a day after, 10 years ago, and then it goes back to explain what happens in the previous hour. Um, I think that's I don't have any objection to that, but sometimes I find it a bit hard to follow or hard to track. I don't know if you find that same difficulty. You know, some people might find the whole split screen thing to be confusing and kind of headache inducing, but the whole jumping timeline from one to the next, and if you don't if you don't watch this show on in a format that allows you to replay, kind of rewind, to catch like, okay, where are we here, or when are we here? If you don't if you watch it in a format that doesn't allow you to do that, I think you might have some difficulty tracking that, following that. At least that's my opinion. If you don't have difficulties, God bless you, man. More power to you. But yeah, that's why by the end of this episode, when the Russian figures out their con or their heist, and he confronts Carla Gugino's character and Quinn, and then he shoots Quinn in the face. And at first, I was like, "Whoa, what's the matter there? That's freaking Bushmaster from Luke Cage. You don't just shoot him in the face. You don't have him in a show like this only for just one episode. Come on." But and then it hit me like, well, we might see him again, because there's a lot of flashbacks and going, to the past, to 10 years ago, 5 years ago. I think this is one of those shows that there will be more and more things revealed as the layers get peeled, as by the timeline, by the jumping back and forth kind of thing. um you'll discover more about even Quinn, when the fact that he's already dead, how the connection from this character to the next, what is up with Giancarlo Esposito's character's son. And that's where the mystery will kick in. um Oh, final note. Just want to give my 2 cents about Carla Gugino's performance in this one. I'm a big fan, so I'm a little biased. I love her to death. I've met Carla Gugino's twice, at the press junket for Electra Lux and at the press junket for The Space Between Us. Now, Carla Gugino, if you followed her career, um, whenever movies utilize her, it's usually in the supporting role capacity. The last TV show that she actually was the lead star in was Wayward Pines, that got canceled after 2 seasons. It was a good show, but the second season went downhill. Um, but on the big screens, unless she's in a movie that's written and directed by Sebastian Gutierrez, for the majority of the part, Mr. Popper's Penguin, Watchmen, um, San Andreas, Race to Witch Mountain, Spy Kids, all those movies. Sin City, more than often, she plays only supporting role. Um, so I'm glad that she now is back on the small screen as the lead, because I think as far as movies go, or Hollywood movies go, I think they don't really have a lead place for her. I wish they did. I really wish, because I think she's a fantastic actress. But Hollywood's like, that's why she ends up, when on the big screen, she ends up being or playing. She ends up playing the wife of Dwayne Johnson, or whenever there's a script that requires middle-aged character, lead male character. It's like, oh, we need to have a female middle-aged character as well to be his wife. So that's when her phone rings. Unless, of course, if it's Tom Cruise movies, because Tom Cruise in his movies would have a wife or a girlfriend that's like 30 years younger than him. It's insane. But more than often, if they need a middle-aged kind of wife to play opposite of middle-aged hero, they they contact Carla Gugino. Then her phone would ring. So as a fan, it's kind of like it disheartens you to see that your idol just kind of goes through the motion like that from one movie to the next. So that's why I'm happy that she gets this, lead star in this show that's developed by her boyfriend, Sebastian Gutierrez. Thank you, Sebastian. And as I said earlier, this is a very delicious role for her. It really highlights Carla's best qualities as an actress and as a very gorgeous, beautiful woman. As you'll see in this episode, Jett is not afraid, I should say, or maybe what's the word I'm looking for? Um, she finds it okay to use her sexuality to gain, an advantage over her mark person. She doesn't mind even sleeping with her colleague Quinn. That's supposed to be like, you're not supposed to like you're not supposed to shit where you eat. You're not supposed to have sex with your coworkers, right? Those are usually the unwritten rule, or the rule of thumbs, if you will. But she's like, fuck it, man. And then we have this strikingly tall glass of water, handsome black man. Like, I'm gonna jump on that tree. uh, but anyway, uh, and also with the Russian guy, like she knows how to use her sexuality to her advantage, and Carla plays that card really, really well, and because she herself is absolutely downright gorgeous. Um, there is one thing that I think Sebastian Gutierrez kind of dropped the ball on, as far as staging the suspense. Uh, that scene in which Quinn is in the middle of cracking the safe, and then split screen you see in the next room or outside of the room, Jett has a bit of difficulty, with the Russian guy. She tries to lure him away from the room so that Quinn can finish his job. And I'm thinking, I'm watching that. I'm thinking, like, why can't she just drug him? She should have just drugged the Russian guy, and then maybe undress him, and then have him be have him wake up in his own bed the next morning, thinking that, oh my god, I can't remember, I must have had too much to drink. I guess maybe I did have a lot of fun with Jed, but I just can't remember, because now, but at least he's thinking like, oh, maybe or maybe not that I had sex with her, as opposed to what happens in this episode, where it's like she has to really try hard to get him away from the room. And on top of that, they don't really cover their tracks really clear or clean or good, because he finds out, and he captures her and he shoots Quinn. So that's another thing too. Like, if you had drugged the Russian guy, right? He passes out. Um, then you and Quinn could, after right immediately after that heist, you could just leave the country at at the very dark of dawn, right before the sun is even up, um, before the Russian even wakes up to realize that he's, what has happened to him. If he's a smart guy, he would realize it. But before even then, they would, dude, Jet and Quinn would have been out of Cuba, um, faster than the Russian could like say, "What the hell just happened?" So I think, um, as a fan, it's not something that's like, as an audience, it's not like I can tell Sebastian, it's like, "Hey, come on, Sebastian, don't do Jet that way. Come on, you could have written better." But I think Sebastian knows what he's doing though, because like, hey, if we do it that way, if we would with the scenario of drugging the Russian and leaving early in the dawn hour, then we wouldn't have a story. we wouldn't have we wouldn't have this thing that I want to intend to do, which is to put Jet in between a rock and a hard place, basically. So yeah, I guess just an audience making observations. I'm like, come on, come on. Like, really, in the daylight, you're trying to make a run for it. Of course, you're gonna get caught. But now we have this whole dilemma surrounding Jet, and I'm curious to see how she will try to play both bosses, right? Giancarlo Esposito, and now the Russian, who also kind of has her fate in the balance. So um, I love how her character is only a professional thief. She's not some kind of an MMA fighter. She's not some kind of a skilled ninja fighter. Like, um, she can't really escape that easily from the clutches of the Russian. So her vulnerabilities make her a fascinating character. If she is Mary Sue, or is capable of a lot of other stuff, without even background to those, then I would be turned off. Um, so luckily, we only, what we have is this professional thief who now, finds herself in this predicament where, if she doesn't work as a double agent, if you will, to both bosses, then her partner and her children's life, not children's, child's life, would be at risk or would be in danger. So um, I think my theory is that the next subsequent episodes will be her trying to outplay the bosses and beat them at their own game before they even touch her child. And we'll see what Sebastian Gutierrez has cooked up for us in these 9 episodes. I can't wait. I think it's a fantastic first episode, very engaging. I'm hooked. There's some slow moments, but nothing too boring. It's not like freaking AMC's Nosferatu. Oh man, Nosferatu is boring as hell, man. I wish that show would just be about Zachary Quinto, and not be about that girl and the whole problem with her parents. I couldn't care less about them. So Jet pilot episode is nothing like that. The slow moments actually just tries to highlight um, Carla's seductive skills. And I think if you give this show a shot, you will enjoy it as much as I did, whether or not you are a fan of Carla Gugino. So that's it. That's my long rant, my review of Cinemax new series Jet that airs every Friday night, starring Carla Gugino. And share your thoughts in the comment section below. And as always, subscribe, not prescribe, subscribe to my channel, press that like button, ring that bell. And if you can help support this channel, please do so at patreon.com/ramascreen. I'll be back tonight with my live review of Big Little Lies season 2, new episode 2. So stay tuned, okay? Till then, let's rock this.